everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Marina, and this channel is all about food, healthy food, recipes, sports, habits, challenges, books. And today's video is going to be about one very specific book and how I implemented this into my life. The book that I'm talking about is called Glucose Revolution. I found this book 1 year ago in April 2022. So, how I found this book is interesting. I was exploring different apps about the book summaries, so trying to find some good books that I can read. And I found the summary of this amazing book. And right away, just after reading the summary, I placed an order on Amazon. It got delivered the next day. And the whole day, I couldn't stop reading this book. It was so groundbreaking and mind blowing that I highlighted every second sentence in this book. And today I want to share with you the summary of this book, what I've learned from this book, and also how I implemented the tips and hacks that the author Jessie suggests in this book into my life. Stay tuned. First, let me introduce you to Jessie.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessie.
She's cool. So Jessie is a French biochemist, and her story is truly fascinating. At the age of 19, she accidentally broke her back, but this accident led her to the point where she became interested in learning about her body, in learning about the health. She studied in UK, in US, in France, if I remember correctly, where she learned more about her body, and she worked at different startups. And in 2019, she also created her own Instagram account, which is called Glucose Goddess, where she shares the insights into the glucose spikes, and she's wearing the glucose monitor and shares the screenshots of how the different combinations of food intake affects the glucose spikes. When I started following her back in April 2022, there were two other people whom I know were following her. And today, more than 20 people whom I know, whom I'm following, are also following her. And I can't be happier that the knowledge that she shares is getting broader and broader, and more people are getting more aware of the importance of flattening your glucose spike and the effect it has on your body and health. Every day, she shares lots of insights and answers to lots of questions and provides with ton of helpful information that you can just see in her stories and in her posts. So if you don't follow her yet, please do. If you are not on Instagram or prefers another way to gather information, you can check her website. There you can find some videos, interviews, articles, community, links to the scientific reports, proving her concepts. Subscribe to her newsletter to stay on top of the updates from her. Of course, it also highlights her two books, Glucose Revolution, that she published in April 22, and her more recent one, the Glucose Goddess Method, where she leads you through these hacks implementation and provides you with a ton of delicious recipes. So, to be honest, I was so fascinated by this book that I think I watched every YouTube video about Glucose Goddess and her methods. To be honest, they all are quite long, like 2 hours long. That's why I decided to create this video where I can share with you the summary of this book, the main concept behind it, the hacks and tips that Jessie suggests to flatten your glucose spikes and how it could affect your health in a positive manner, along with the implementation of these habits. So I've been trying them for 2 weeks, and I'm happy to share with you the results and what I've learned from this experience. You know, I always was fascinated by these beautiful visual summaries of books that other people do, where they can include some charts, which are super bright. There are some characters and 3D animations and so on and so forth. And then I decided, like, what the hell? I can also do this. I know how to do this. So today I am happy to present you with my second attempt of the book visual summary infographic of Glucose Goddess. So this is my second attempt of doing something like this. The first was with the book Fast Like a Girl. I will include a short summary here so that you can watch it later, or you can just add this to your bookmarks. But what else I'm doing right now, not like right now, but actually right now I'm fasting right now, but I'm working right now on the video of me trying these fasts and on my journey to 72 hours fast. That's crazy. I've never done this before. My longest fast so far was more like 36 hours tops. So I'm using all the concepts and all the knowledge from this book to try a 72-hour fast and to have a journey to do this, to enable my body to do this. So it's very fascinating what our body can do when it is in a fasting mode. So if you want to learn about how I'm doing this and the benefits of it, please subscribe to my channel and click the notification button so that you can also then watch the video of how I am doing the 72-hour fast and the benefits of it. In the meantime, let's go deeper into the glucose summary book, and let me start with the concept of the glucose. First, the question here is, what is glucose? So glucose is the amount of sugar in our blood and the primary source of energy for our body. Now let's talk about the plants. Plants are magic creatures. They transform air into matter. So with the help of the sun's energy, they also take the water from the soil and also carbon dioxide from air and transform this into something magical, which we call glucose. This whole process is called photosynthesis. As I mentioned, cells in our body use glucose for energy. But since we are not plants, we can't produce glucose from air. We have to eat these plants. And usually glucose comes in three main forms. It is starch, fiber, and sugars. The name for this whole group is carbohydrates, and they usually come in two forms: complex and simple. The main difference between these two groups is in how quickly they can be digested and absorbed by our body, by our organs. But there is a specific group that actually can be broken down into glucose, and these are insoluble fibers and sugar alcohols. Insoluble fiber is important for us and for our gut because it feeds our bacteria and helps us digest all the other carbs. While sugar alcohols is actually a misleading name because there is no alcohol in it and no sugar actually. And usually it either primarily comes from manufacturing, but there are also, for example, things like corn syrup. The thing about alcohol sugars is that they are not as sweet as your, for example, fructose or glucose as it is, but it is also not fully digested. So it does not raise your glucose as much as natural sugar. Let's get back to this definition of simple and complex carbs and the main difference between them. So simple carbs, they can be either monosaccharides or disaccharides. Monosaccharides are saccharides that only contain one molecule. It can be either glucose or fructose or galactose, while disaccharides, they include two combinations of either these glucose, fructose or galactose, and it can be either sucrose, lactose or maltose, if I remember correctly. Complex carbs, they are called usually polysaccharides. They contain 3+ molecules, and what we've been hearing is that it is always better to eat these complex carbs because it takes longer for our body to split these molecules, and our body will be more satisfied and fed with glucose rather than if we eat simple carbs. Let's get back to our book visual summary. Now let's see what happens once we get this glucose into our body. Our little organelles inside our cells, which are called mitochondria, they are turning glucose into energy. So our body works perfectly fine once we deliver enough glucose into our body. But once we over deliver the glucose, it just stops working. So what happens basically with our glucose? So our pancreas produces the hormone which is called insulin, which delivers glucose into following storages units throughout the body. If we, for example, have enough of glucose just for our basal energy expenses. So there are three storages here: is the liver, muscle, and fat. So the liver is very tiny and small resource for this because it can only hold 100 grams of glucose in the form of glycogen, which is basically like 2 large McDonald's fries. The next storage, step number 2, where insulin delivers these glucose, is muscle. Muscle of a typical human being of around 60 kilograms can hold around 400 grams of glucose in the form of glycogen, which is like 7 large McDonald's fries. So can you imagine how much we eat a day? And that's basically, it's getting full very quickly. So the third resort is our fat, and all the rest of this glucose goes into fat storage. So quick note here is that fructose, which actually is not very good for our body, can only be stored as fat. I put so much effort into this visual book summary. So if you really enjoyed, I would so much appreciate if you like this video and subscribe to my channel. Now let's see why these glucose spikes are actually harmful. So when our little organella mitochondria is overwhelmed with glucose, it releases free radicals and they damage everything they touch. And when our body has to fight too many free radicals, we turn into oxidative stress state. Another process, it is called glycation. It's basically the browning process that happens in our body when glucose molecules bump into another molecule. It's inevitable. We can just slow it down, but lots of fructose and lots of glucose increases and speeds up this process. So the combination of free radicals, oxidative stress, and glycation leads to a generalized state of inflammation in our body. And chronic inflammation is the source of most chronic illnesses. So just as a short-term effect, it can be constant hunger, cravings, chronic fatigue, poor sleep, cold, migraine, memory and cognitive function issues, up to PCOS, cancer risk, gut issues, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, acne, aging, and Alzheimer's. Okay guys, I'm 4 hours into recording this video. I'm still new into this and I appreciate that you are still viewing this video. So I just took a break and made myself an espresso tonic. The recipe you can find right over here. It's delicious, no calories. It's just coffee, it's just tonic, it's just lime and a lemon and ice. Super refreshing, so especially right now it's like 30 degrees outside in London. But let's get back to our topic, and our right now topic is how to conquer all these problems. So we have all these glucose spikes. What do we have to do with this? Let's find out. In her Glucose Revolution book, Jessie suggests 10 different hacks, tips, or tricks, you can call it whenever you want, to lower your glucose spikes. And let's go one by one. First one is to eat your food in the right order. This is something, again, groundbreaking that I've never even thought about, but this is so much true. This is gonna be not very beautiful right now, but when you throw up, right? So, and then look into what you did. So all the food is getting out in the order that you put it into your body. So it all makes sense to eat the food in the right order. And if you remember, early in the video I mentioned that we have this insoluble fiber that helps us digest the food. And there are two different types of carbs. There are simple and there are complex, and complex takes longer to digest. And that's the main idea behind this first rule, is that first you have to put fiber into your body, into your gut, so that it is undigestible and your gut will think like, okay, how I'm gonna digest it? Yeah, so and it can't, but it will then help digest all the other food in your gut. So after you put a little bit of fiber into your gut, so then what you have to put is protein and fat. So this will help your body to digest these molecules into energy much faster and in a healthier way. And only after you put proteins and fat, you can start eating carbs, and you can start first with the complex carbs and then with the simple carbs. So I just described rule number 1, and it very much relates to rule number 2, where you can add a green starter to every meal that you have, and rule number 3, where you can just stop counting calories. So rule number 4, like flatten your breakfast curve, which means is replace your sweet breakfast with a savory one. And the rule number 6, where she suggests you to add your dessert, anything sweet as a dessert rather than as a snack, and have snacks make them more savory rather than sweet. What I would really like to pay attention into is rule number 7 and number 8, which is reach for vinegar before you eat, and after you eat, move. Okay, these rules are quite weird. So if have a walk after we had food makes sense, because okay, we gave energy, gave glucose to our body, and our body thinks like, okay, what I'm gonna do with this? And then you start working like, oh, good idea, I'll just put this right into these muscles because they are working. But the rule about the vinegar sounds a bit crazy. Like, there is acid inside our gut, right? So do we need to add more acid? And actually, there are so many good studies, scientific studies, that prove that having a tablespoon of vinegar with a glass of water, not just vinegar, but with a glass of water, it improves your glucose perception and flattens the glucose spikes. I know these whole 10 hacks sound simple and hard at the same time, but let's have a look at the examples, how they actually flatten your glucose spikes. Example number 1 is when you, for example, have a pasta and broccoli. And our rule number 1 is the correct order of the food that you are intaking proves that if you first eat broccoli, which is very high in fiber, and then you eat pasta, which is our carbs, then your glucose spikes is much flatter than vice versa. Second is, for example, you have the spear and nut butter. It is our rule number 10 is to put something on your carbs. So if you eat your pear and also add a nut butter, so then you can also flatten your glucose. Third is, for example, brownie and vinegar. This is our rule number 7, is to add apple vinegar before you have food, 20 minutes before you have food. So once you start cooking, you can drink vinegar and then have food. And the recommendation actually is not to drink any water during your food intake. So again, if you first drink vinegar and then eat brownie, so then your glucose spike won't go like this. So it will be much, much, much flatter. And actually the same applies to the rule number 10, put some cover on your carbs. So you can just eat a tablespoon of sour cream, for example, or again, like broccoli, and then have your brownie. And again, your glucose will be much, much, much lower. Oats, yeah, so oats example. So this is our rule number 4. So if you cover your breakfast and make it more savory, and you can, for example, add butter, which is fat, and egg, which is protein, to your carbs, which are oats, again, your glucose spike will be much lower. The rule with, for example, fruits, yeah, that I just mentioned, for example, papaya, if you first eat 2 eggs and then papaya as a dessert, yeah, after your eggs, your glucose will say thank you to you. Rice cookie and peanut, the same thing applies here. So peanut is our fat, while rice cookie is total carbs. Again, first peanut, then rice cookie. If you are eating a rice bowl with salmon, with everything, so you don't need to really put aside everything and first, for example, eat some veggies and then some proteins. You can it's okay, you can eat everything together, right? So just maybe before you eat this whole bowl, if you put some veggies first, right? Just a little bit of spinach or broccoli or anything else, right? Just a little bit of fiber, and then just eat this whole bowl into you, put this whole bowl into you, then you'll be fine. And after that, just go for a quick walk, just 10-minute walk, just nothing else. Yeah, and again, you see, your glucose will thank you. So, example number 8 is pizza and green salad. Again, this is our rule number 2, where you have to put some veggies, some fiber first, and then your whole main meal. Again, your glucose spike will be much, much, much lower. An example with, for example, pineapple, right, that I already mentioned. One of the examples here is don't just eat pineapple as a snack, right? As a snack, you can eat, for example, hummus and carrot, as I'm usually right now doing. I implemented this trick. While if you eat pineapple, just better eat it as the dessert after your main dish rather than as a separate snack. I think we are done with the theory. I hope it was very informative and helpful to you and will inspire you to buy this amazing book and read it full, because it really changed my life. So what actually I did, because I promised you that I implemented all these hacks into my day-to-day life. Some of these hacks, to be honest, can be, I think, summarized into one hack. So basically what I did, I started drinking apple vinegar before food. So it's important to drink it not during the food. And there are studies that prove that if you drink water during food, it actually increases your glucose spikes. So please, once you come to the kitchen, once you start cooking, drink right away, just a tablespoon of apple vinegar, and then pour some water and just drink it. So it's might first taste weird, but then you'll get used to this taste. Second is I implemented the veggie starter, the veggie starter. So even if I am somewhere outside and if I'm eating pancakes, I'm also ordering steamed veggies first, steamed broccolis, so that I will have this fiber put inside me, that it will then help me with digesting these carbs. So I started doing this, or for example, if I'm eating some oatmeal at home during my little period where I'm craving for something sweet and delicious, first I'm just eating some spinach into my my mouth, and then I have my oatmeal. Third rule that I implemented is food order. So if I have food, I'm usually putting the right order on. So first it's fiber, like for example, I'm putting the steamed broccoli or any other steamed veggies. There are lots of different veggies that are high in fiber that you can put first. So then you put your protein and your fats. So in this example, here I have as a protein my prawns, and also this is very, very, very good protein pasta. So then I am having all the other food, the carbs, and I'm finishing this with a dessert. So I was really, really hungry at that point, and as the dessert I created the whole another meal is oatmeal with some extra berries, and I also added protein to this oatmeal. So that was my dessert, and instead of creating another meal, I just created a small portion of oatmeal and made it as my dessert. Rule number 5 for me is to have a walk. So once I'm done with my food, I'm just putting my shoes on and getting out of home. So fortunately I live on the ground floor, so it's not very complicated for me to get out of home, and fortunately it is summer right now, so I don't need to put lots of clothes or change my clothes to get myself out of home. Okay, I just had food, and according to Glucose Revolution Hacks, I have to take a quick walk. So that's exactly what I'm doing. So what I've learned from this experience, probably that's your question. Unfortunately, I don't have a glucose monitor, or I didn't make my blood tests before and after, but I have this inner feeling of what changed, and a few things changed. The first one is don't feel bloated anymore. So that was quite a big problem for me very often when I feel like, okay, I'm full, I'm bloated, I can't normally walk, breathe, live. I stopped feeling this. I no longer feel bloated, which is amazing. Just implementing these five hacks really reduced this problem with my stomach. I don't feel like overly full when I can't really breathe, although I feel like I eat even more because I'm adding right now dessert to my meal, but I don't feel like overfulled. I don't know how it works, but it works like a magic, and it feels really good. I started eating less. I noticed that I can last without food for like around 5-6 hours after my proper breakfast, and that's pretty cool. So I don't need to waste time on cooking or eating too much, and definitely it also decreases my calorie intake. Although one of the rules is don't count the calories, but still. So I really feel, yeah, I feel like I'm good. I'm not hungry. I don't feel hunger, which is amazing. And yeah, so anyway, walking, when you just walk outside, so it gives you some extra calories spent per day. So you, even if you sat home all day long and just went for these short 10-minute walks, it's already like 20-30 minutes a day, and that's already something better than nothing. So it definitely helps with burning this fat glucose, this glucose that you have on your skin, and yeah. So I think that these are the insights for me. I'll definitely keep doing this. I know that it's been just 2 weeks of this experiment, and I'll definitely keep doing this, and I'll keep you posted. But I totally recommend this to anyone. I hope this video was informative to you and helpful. I definitely learned a lot from this book, and I would highly recommend you to subscribe to Glucose Goddess on Instagram, to buy this book, her second book with her recipes. It's really great and amazing. If you don't, just don't, right? Just follow the rules from this video. If you like this video, I would highly appreciate if you like it, and if you subscribe to my channel. That would mean a world to me, because I put so much effort into creating these videos and to make them helpful to the world and change the world via these small 30 minutes videos. So yeah, please subscribe this video, and stay tuned. I'll be posting more videos, informative and helpful soon. Thank you.